What is going on? This is Ryan here today, and this is a part 2 of an episode I did previously. If you haven't checked it out, the last solo episode I did right before this was the kind of foundational element to this. But what I'm going to go over today is I'm going to go over how you can use ChatGPT to answer a question that 44 out of 45 SaaS executives could not answer, okay? And the beautiful thing about this, it could literally double your business. And PE companies use this secret to 3x companies in 3 years that are $1 billion or more. But the beautiful thing is I applied this as a rep, as an individual contributor. I applied this as a revenue leader, and you could apply it today and it'll instantly help you. So looking forward to getting into it. Today's episode, though, is sponsored by the Sales AI Accelerator, which is my program in which I share all the AI knowledge that I'm dropping here, but give you specific prompts, templates, workflows, use cases, so that you can become a master at that in literally, I don't know, heck, maybe a couple hours, which is absolutely amazing. And then I have ongoing use cases in my membership to keep updated with all these changes as they happen and become superhuman in the process. This is shaving people out. I've seen people give examples of how they've 10x what they were doing before. And so you'll be blown away with what I've done in there. This is very, very economical, and I'll give you 9 resources just for trying it out for free. So check out the link. It will be in the show notes. And now let's get into the episode.
How do you grow like a VC-backed company without taking on investors? Do you want to create a lifestyle business, a performance business, or an empire? How do you scale to an exit without losing your freedom? Those are the questions, and this show is the answer.
So today, all right, I'm going to go over this, and this is something near and dear to my heart because I use this strategy to 2x our deal size annually every year for 5.5 years, right? I use this as a rep, which basically cut out 10 hours a week and then increased my results by 130%. And then at the same time, it also 1,000x our largest deal. Now, after I left, and I started working with other organizations through research, I found out this is the same strategy that Snowflake used to go from 20 million to like 2 billion in revenue in like 5 years. I also found out that Vista Equity uses this strategy when I was listening to Alex Hormozi's podcast a while back to literally take a company from 1 billion to 3 billion. Okay. So I'm going to give you a component of this so that you can start leveraging this today, no matter what your role, job, and function is, whether you're in sales, marketing, leadership, CEO, it doesn't matter, right? This is going to help you either way. And it's one of the things that I call vertical to horizontal. And I spoke about this at the SaaS Open at Nathan Lacka's event last year in New York. And I was blown away because I asked a single question. I asked this question. There's about 45 people in the room, and they were all SaaS executives. And the single question was, who knows what the average deal size of the top 20% of your customers is, right? And the only thing is one person really knew that answer, okay? And which was wild to me, right? Because like the way I look at it is the number one best strategy that I use to grow is I didn't have capital, tons of capital. I could maybe hire one person, if that. I didn't have a lot of marketing support or SDRs. And so one of the areas that we had to look at are like, hey, what's the biggest lever that I can use with my team to really keep leveling up the revenue? Because my quota went up every year, my budget went up every year. And if I didn't hit that, my money would go down every year, right? And so how do I offset that as a leader, as a person of basically driving the revenue for an organization, okay? Now, here's what I'm going to walk you through are really 3 simple steps on how to execute this that I think you'll love. All right. So what you do is I mentioned in the last episode about ideally, leveraging your customer or your ideal customer profile, right? Like using the data analysis tool and then using Perplexity. If you have not listened to that, go back to that episode, listen to it. It's literally 14 minutes. Companies have paid me tens of thousands of dollars just to share this specific piece with them. I'm sharing it with you today for free because I want to keep giving back. Now, here's how you execute it, right? So I mentioned in that episode about exporting your revenue data for the last 12 months into a CSV, okay? And what that means is basically the last 12 months of customers you've acquired, and it can be if you are an individual contributor or, like I said, a revenue leader or a CEO, it doesn't matter, or a marketing leader as well, or a CMO. And what you can do is basically you take that data, you can extract it from the CRM, and then what we're going to do is, depending on what level of security you have with the functions you're leveraging with like ChatGPT or Any other AI tools, I would use ChatGPT because of the data analysis piece that it has within there. You're going to want to have the Teams option if you don't sanitize your data. If you want to sanitize your data, then you can leverage effectively, basically the plus option. Okay, so there's a couple of things that I would focus on, and what you'll be able to do with this is, so you have that 12 months of data. You look at the CSV. Now, what you do is you could identify and say like, okay, based on this data, I want you to identify my ideal customer profile. All right. So that's the basics of what we talked about in the last episode. Now, what you're also going to do is I say, okay, look at and identify what is the top ideal customer profile of the top 20% of my clients. Please create that profile. So what it's going to do from there is it's going to go everything from the average amount of revenue for that size to the verticals, to the number of employees, to the revenue size, all those areas. So if you're really thinking of it, we're looking at our ideal customer profile and we're creating a perfect customer profile. Okay. That is where we take the top 20% of our clients, because what we want to do is replicate them or multiply them. It's like one of those things. And we're also going to leverage speed as well. So we don't just want it's awesome to get a customer that's $1 million a year in revenue. However, if they take 3 years to get, that's a really long time for that amount of revenue. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the sweet spot effectively of deal size and then the sweet spot of speed. Okay. And I found this with a real world example where effectively when I reviewed our go-to-market and had to start a team from scratch before I grew it to 30 million in 5.5 years, I effectively looked at that. And one of the things I identified was okay, we had a horizontal solution. It was a managed service solution that we could sell it to anybody. So we had all these different verticals. We were focused on all these different areas. We would kind of go to the hot points. And I'm just like, there's got to be a better way to do it, right? So I looked at the top 3 verticals. It was retail, legal, and then there was healthcare. Okay. Healthcare took a really long time to close and the deal size were kind of inconsistent. Basically, legal was one of the areas where we would get $30,000 a month opportunities. On average, it would come out of there. They would take about 12 months. And then retail wasn't a focus area, but we did have some retail accounts kind of on accident. And one of the things that I saw in there, in one of our other divisions, there was a deal that, like I said, literally happened on accident because it was a retail company that grew and then got acquired by Kroger. Okay, it was called Harris Teeter. And effectively what it was is they were spending $100,000 a month with us at the time, and they only took 9 months to close. Okay, so look at it, we had $30,000 a month, 12 months to close, $100,000 a month, 9 months to close. I looked at that and it was like laser focused. It was a dart on paper. And I'm like, why aren't we focused on more accounts like that? They're like, I don't know. I mean, that's a good question. Why aren't we? And I'm like, what would happen? And so I started digging really into the different targets and what's possible and what would happen and how much of a segment size. And the more we went into it, the more and more I'm like, this is the diamond in the rough. This is the hidden opportunity that we could blow things up with, right? So then from there, what you could do is take that profile that you have from the data analysis, and this will be your guide, right? And what you could do is look at the average of that, right? Look at the average of all those and have it give you an average, but then also give you a range, right? So then you can have multiple verticals that fit within that area. You could have, multiple different size of companies, right? And what I mean by that is, let's say, 1,000 employees to 2,000 employees. You don't want 1 to 2,000, right? You want it more focused than that. So get the ranges of that and ask ChatGPT, hey, can you give me ranges, a segmentation range for the top 20% of what that consists of? So you have the average and the top 20%, okay? Now, this is the way that you execute against it. And once again, doesn't matter if you're in marketing, doesn't matter if you're in sales, doesn't matter if you're in leadership. What you could say effectively is, all right, just like you would an investment portfolio of stocks and bonds. And as you get older, one of the areas they talk about of basically smart diversification is you want to as you're younger, you want to have a much higher percentage of equities because you have a longer runway before you're going to need to pull that money out. And as time goes on, you want to trim that back, have more fixed income assets so they're more predictable, right? Not as much risk, more predictable. So what we're going to do here is we're going to look and apply that same principle and focus a percentage of your time, money, energy, and resources in that top 20% that you probably didn't have that as much of a focus before. At least I say probably 95% of organizations I've talked to and have worked with have not done that. And so what you could do is you could effectively allocate instead of a general, amount of time to everything, you could have your team focus maybe 50% of your time, team and energy on that piece. And what's going to happen is if you have 50% of your time focused on the top 20%, they create 80% of the revenue versus 50% of your time on everything else. What's going to happen is the deal sizes are going to start jumping up in size. You're going to get bigger and bigger customers or Fortune 500 and Fortune 1000. Okay. So and here's the results that I got personally, right? Deal size is 2 to 5x year over year. We got 100x deal size, and we got faster and higher conversions for time to close. Okay. Like I said, I've seen this at an individual contributor level. I've seen this at a mid-manager level, an executive leader level. And I've received similar benefits to all different areas. It's one of the simplest levers you can pull to increase revenue and increase business. And so it's one of those areas where it's just like, I have to share this with everybody because now leveraging AI to use those tools has made it so much easier with data analysis. Okay. So awesome stuff. Really appreciate you listening. One of the things that I would really deeply appreciate from you, and I can even give you a shout out on the show, is if you could leave a review, and even, a rating would be awesome, because then what it'll do is it'll share this with other people. I'm giving away stuff that literally took me decades to learn, and people are paying tens of thousands of dollars for it. So if you could share this with someone that you think would be helpful, or just basically comment and leave a review, what it's going to do is it's going to make it more aware to more people. We're going to move up the charts, and we can help more people at scale become superhuman, which is truly what I want to do, because the world is changing faster than it ever has. And I think this is a unique opportunity and time, and I want to serve you in that way, best way possible. Okay. So I'm going to continue with this series. We're going to keep going down this with different areas of focus, of gems that I see you execute on. So the next episode, I think we're going to hit on some productivity things of like how you could carve out 10 hours a week and, how you could do different areas like that. So make sure you check out the next solo episode that I have coming on. I am still doing interviews because I'm finding amazing people that give different perspectives. And so don't skip over those. Those are some of the most amazing things that I've learned in my entire career, is just by doing these interviews. So appreciate you. Thanks for being a part of this. Thanks for joining me. And we will see you all on the next episode.
Thank you for checking out the Scale Up Show. My mission in life is to help founders and revenue leaders avoid all the pain and suffering in revenue growth so they can flip it and create a life of their own design. So if you enjoyed this show, please like, review, share it on social, and more importantly, just share it with a friend. Share it with someone that you think could learn and benefit from what you heard on today. But the more we get the message out, the more people we could help, the bigger the impact we make, and the bigger the community gets, which helps everybody. So once again, thank you for being a loyal listener. I appreciate you and look forward to seeing you on the next episode.